Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Film Podcast. I am Justin.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Ryan.
And boys, we got some drama to talk about today because we got another argument we're going to have today because mom and dad are going to fight.
We just literally got done fighting.
Yeah. This is going to be a rough hour and a half or so for us because we just finished recording the Mario review that you guys saw last week. And now we're getting into this again, and based on, like, usually we wait to talk about stuff, but like Ryan's body language leaving that movie already tells me where he's going with this, and I think this will still be a fun podcast for us to argue about. So, all right, who wants to break down the movie?
So there I was, sitting in a movie theater, getting ready to watch an advertised romantic comedy movie.
Not advertised as a romantic
comedy. Look it up
comedy
right now. Tell me what the tags on the movie are.
I will.
Materialistic.
Dark comedy is number one.
Go on the movie theater's website, specifically. Marcus Theaters.
I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it again.
Comedy, drama, romance.
Okay, well, that's Marcus's problem. Not the
That's
movie's problem.
That's the only place I ever saw advertising for the movie. We saw a trailer for this once. I said, that seems interesting. Forgot about it completely until we walked into the movie today.
Well, Fox News tells me there's a war on Christmas, so it must be true. Like, eat shit, Ryan. Like...
So there I was, getting ready for a comedy romance movie, which honestly wasn't very funny. And 2, didn't have any romance in it. And 3, I have troubles deciding on which is worse, this or The Materialists.
Oh God! All right, well, I guess we should start.
Romance. I got more comedy romance out of Return to Silent Hill.
Are you done?
That dude did love his paintings.
I fell asleep for half that movie, so like, the drama stars Robert Pattinson and Zendaya as a soon-to-be married couple who, after a night of drinking and maybe some minor debauchery with their maid of honor and best man, a secret is revealed about one of the characters that could completely upend the entire relationship. So, Justin, what did you think of the drama?
I did not enjoy this. Not enjoy this at all. I did not laugh much at it, and I probably chuckled maybe one. But then it was that was pretty much done after that. I didn't really like anybody. I mean, everybody seemed like a piece of crap, but except for Mike, the best man.
Yes.
Mike was the best man in this movie because he seemed to try to diffuse all the situations. He didn't even want to bring up the let's tell our deepest, darkest secrets. He was like, no, let's not do that. And then even at the wedding toast, he was like, no, let's not do that either. So he seemed like the only good one. And I will say, I actually did like some of the awkwardness in it, where it was very uncomfortable for the people talking about the situation or even just dealing with it at all. I thought was kind of interesting. A nice way to try to break the ice, even though the ice was already broken at that point. But I did not really like the characters. The whole plot of the story just seemed to drag on. I mean, this movie felt like it could have been cut down a whole lot more into maybe a 30-minute short film. And the good moments that I thought it did have, it just kind of took it too far. Like, there was some moments and scenes that I thought were good ideas and possibly could have done something, and they just kept going and going. It was like a bad joke. It's like, let's tell the joke, and then let's run it through the mud and make the joke just absolutely horrible. So yeah, and it was just kind of boring. I really did not care for it.
Ryan?
I think it was boring. I think we all in this room know that I don't like experimental footage usually. and this movie, it feels like I got hit in the head with a bat beforehand, because the cuts jump so quickly to other things, and you never know what's in somebody's head and what's not in somebody's head. I hate it. I hate the filming of this movie. It truly makes me sick, like motion sickness, the way that it's filmed. It gave me a headache. I don't like the story. I think it's dumb. I think the whole premise is a dumb idea. I think that Zendaya and Robert Pattinson have a pretty drastic age difference, so I think it's kind of weird. Even though he doesn't age, I'm convinced he is a vampire. Um, I don't know. I don't know much to say about this movie. I think the whole premise is dumb. I think that it reeks of a horrible filmmaker like Celine Song. I think that it's just it's poopy caca, all of it, all around. I don't know if it has a single redeeming quality.
Wow. Okay. So let me start by prefacing my context here. We are all in very similar boats. We probably see at least 100 new releases a year. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm constantly watching new stuff. I probably watch 250 new movies a year. So I've seen it all, right? So when I go into a movie, I oftentimes expect a very similar experience, right? Is the acting good? Do they tell a good story? Most of the time, I don't leave truly surprised or leaving with any strong emotion behind what I just saw. I'm very clearly on the opposite of you guys. I actually think this movie's brilliant. Yeah, shocker. And all of the things that you're criticizing the movie for, I think that that's not a sign of bad filmmaking, because I think that was intentional on the part of the director. You said that the movie was like not sold to you correctly. Completely fair. If you went into this movie expecting a romantic comedy, you are probably sorely disappointed, because it is very much not a romantic comedy. Now, I don't know what trailer you saw. The trailer I saw very clearly starts out like romantic heavy and then alludes to the revelation and then goes on to show the awkwardness after that. So I got pretty much what I expected out of this movie. But I could completely understand going into this and expecting one thing and not getting it and being frustrated by that. Don't know if that was our audience as well, because I don't know about you guys, but this is one of the more interesting and memorable audiences we've seen a movie with. Like, I don't know if it was just because they were just like flabbergasted with what they were seeing, or they were all just like that deeply invested. Like, you could hear a pin drop in that movie. And I ripped one like halfway through, and you could hear it. And Lizzie looked over at me like very mad. And I'm like, oh, wow, it is really like that tense in here right now. Like, I actually thought that it was a pretty good crowd to watch this movie with, because everyone seemed like into the tension. So
I will tell you that the people that I was sitting next to were the only other people talking to the theater, and they constantly kept going, "What are we even watching?"
Okay. That's fine. Like I don't think this is a movie for general audiences. I think it's a movie that very much seeks out to challenge the viewer. And frankly, I don't think that general audiences like being challenged. They like the Super Mario Brothers movie. They like going in, knowing what to expect, and getting exactly what they expected. When they are challenged as viewers, it can be uncomfortable. It doesn't help that the subject matter is also a relatively uncomfortable topic to discuss. Now, I'm going to try very hard to talk about some elements when not going into what the actual topic is, mainly because Ryan yelled at me before and said I can't talk about it. But where I think this movie really succeeds is the movie is built on its awkward tension once that moment is revealed. And I think Zendaya and Robert Pattinson step up to the plate and do great jobs with their performances, doing the little things to show what these characters are going through. I would say Pattinson, this is probably one of his stronger performances, where I'm thinking of the scene where they're taking their photos towards the beginning, where the woman from The Materialist, by the way, is trying to get them to just like act normal, and you can see in their eyes and their emotions that what they are going through now is anything but normal, but they're still trying to, put on a show, put on a performance of preparing for the wedding. Frankly, the biggest criticism for this movie, I think, was laid out by Lizzie, where she said, why are they doing all of these things for a wedding that clearly should have been done like months before, all within like the last week of the wedding? You know what? Perfectly fair criticism. But where I think the movie is interesting is it challenges our empathy as viewers, where one character in this movie does something horrific, but it's not the exact act, and that causes you as the viewer to challenge this idea of forgiveness and moral righteousness. Should we forgive this person for something they didn't even technically do? And what I think is really challenging about that is once it's revealed, I'm instantly going through my mind. I'm like, if I was in this exact situation, would I do the same thing that Robert Pattinson did? Would I do the same thing that Alana Haim's character did? Who, if you want to argue anything, she is the true worst character in this movie. Like, Justin, like, I know you said all the characters suck. I think Zendaya and Robert Pattinson are interesting in their own ways, but Alana Haim just does a great job playing a truly, truly horrible character.
Is it the Maid of Honor girl?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. No, unwatchable at points just because of how bad the cringe is with how truly idiotic the character is portrayed.
But I think that's the intention, and she's doing that.
Yeah, I agree that.
Like, she is playing that character well, and I think her character is easily the most interesting in this movie, because the whole reason this comes up is they're all sitting around at a dinner, and they all just like drunkenly get to this idea of saying the worst thing that they ever did. So they go around to character after character after character, and her story is truly awful, to the point where I'm like, is that kid actually dead? Like, and then for her to hear Zendaya's story and then to completely turn on a dime and view her as the Antichrist is really interesting to me, because she clearly says that what I did is clearly ignored and laughed off by everybody, but what you did, because there's such a social stigma around it, is horrifying, not just because there is that social stigma, but because I, as a character, have been directly affected by this with my cousin or whatever. And I think that it leads to an interesting dynamic where it does make her by far the worst person in this movie. And maybe you equate that with adding to the badness of this movie, but I think that's what makes the movie more interesting. I feel like I'm rambling here.
Here's where I want to challenge you. Well, no, you finish up.
No, I think overall, I think this movie works because it challenges the viewer. It brings in some interesting themes of empathy and morality surrounding a truly horrific event that, frankly, I, as a teacher, do have to deal with, or at least have in the back of my mind constantly. And I think that makes my own experience about whether or not I would forgive this character an interesting one. So
sorry, I once again didn't mean to cut you off.
No, like I feel like I'm basically rambling at this point, but like I like this movie because it's something different. It challenged me as a viewer to really think, and maybe general audiences don't like to think that much or feel that uncomfortable. Like, actually, I think one of the best things that this movie did was have virtually no music during some of the really tense scenes, to kind of just let you really sit with these characters and sit with the thoughts. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's perfect. I don't think the ending like truly sticks the landing here. Justin, you're maybe right in that I think it might be a smidge too long, but I don't think it needs to be cut down to a 30-minute short movie. And it's generally not going to be a movie for everybody, but I think for me, from my perspective, I really enjoyed it.
All right, you've rambled enough about how it's a perfect movie and you love it.
But
I'm going to actually come back and argue.
Just said it was not a perfect movie.
I'm actually going to come back and argue, and I'm curious to see if Justin agrees with me on this. I actually think that this would be a perfect short film. I actually think this would do way better as a short film because, as you said, it challenges some very heavy topics that are really strong, and we need media to tackle these. Like, it is an important thing to face to face. But this is an, hour and a half movie?
Like an hour 45.
Hour 45-minute movie where nothing happens. There's not really a plot. And that's your exact problem with the Mario movie. So what's the drastic difference between the Mario's plot and this plot? It is literally an hour and 45 minutes of just things happening that cringe. It is an hour and 45 minutes of pure cringe, of people saying something that is cringy. But that tension building
is the point, right?
Tension building.
You're supposed to get increasingly uncomfortable as the movie goes. Like, yeah, maybe there's not a huge semblance of plot, and I dinged it for that. I did. But
you just said this does great things with the plot, with the ideas that it's showing.
I said it does great things with the themes, not the plot.
Okay.
If you're going to be light on the overall plot, but you're going to give me something thematically to chew on, that's different than what the Mario movie gave me.
But there's nothing to chew on in this movie, Tyler.
There absolutely is.
It gives you something to think about, but they could have succeeded in a 20-minute short film, and I would have thought the same amount about it.
Okay, but they also succeeded in an hour and 45-minute film. So what's your point?
Not really, because I would say that our theater was probably so quiet because everybody fell asleep.
Oh, I think our theater was so quiet because I think the average moviegoer went into that, like you, expecting something else. And when they don't get that, they don't know what to think. And that's okay.
I'm fine with that. I am not dinging it for it not being a romantic comedy. I'm dinging it for having no semblance of a story that is cohesive enough to put together. Yes, I understand the baseline of the story, and it's fine. But that entire baseline of everything that it's trying to say could have been truly cut down to 10 minutes, Tyler.
No, I once again, I argue that it could maybe be cut down by like 10 minutes or so, but like as like an hour 40, hour 35-minute movie, that's fine. If this movie was like 2.5 hours and like trying like this prestige garbage, I think you'd have a point. But I don't think the movie overstays its welcome. Like it had my attention for the entire thing, and I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not feeling 110% here. Like I'm a little under the weather. I've been tired all day. Like that movie had my attention for most of the runtime. Like, I would say all of the runtime. Like, especially after it's revealed, and then just watching how the characters sort of like devolve into madness over how they should deal with it is fascinating to me.
But it's the same thing that we could just argue that if they would have just had a single conversation, the whole movie would be over. And
you're not wrong.
That's what irritates me, is because the whole movie, there's no point of the actual movie. The story that it's trying to tell, yes, is great. It's a great idea for a film, but it's a great idea for a short film because there's no logical reason for this to have gotten to the point that it was at.
Yes, you're correct. And that's why the movie works, because Robert Pattinson's character does not know how to ask the right questions. So you are devolving into this series of cascading tragedies where the instance just gets worse and worse and worse. And I think gender dynamics are really fascinating here, because something that me and Lizzie discussed is like, what if Zendaya's character was male? Right? Like, we would be thinking about this movie entirely differently based on that act, because most of the people who commit this act are male. So seeing her and do that just adds to the layers here. Like, I completely understand your point. This movie could have been fixed with the whole conversation if these were perfect characters, but that's the point of the movie. They're not, and that's what makes it interesting.
So how is it different from the plot of the Mario movie that you rigged on?
Dude, I explained it. While this movie doesn't have a massive overarching like space opera like story, right? It's not the Lord of the Rings. It gives me something thematically to chew on. The Mario movie did not do that. The Mario movie, instead of giving me themes, gives me little Easter eggs that it dangles in front of my face like keys.
Justin, jump in the middle. Fix Mom and Dad's fight again.
I mean, to me, it felt like shock value for shock value.
Thank
It
you.
revealed this shock thing just to be like, and then had moments in there sprinkled where something happens and it breaks the tension and it goes into making it a little lighthearted and then goes right back into the tension. Degrassi's done this multiple times, so it doesn't shock me.
Lizzie brought up
Degrassi
Degrassi too.
I mean, even in the newest Degrassi show, there was a kid who brought his gun to school and then did not do it because he talked to his brother. Because he had his brother there to stop him from doing a huge mistake. Which, and before when it happened in the earlier Degrassi's, there was nobody there. There was somebody who tried to help and he was getting better, but then someone pushed him over the edge. And just like the Joker says, even the sanest man can have a bad day because of the one bad day can make the sanest man go over the cliff. And that's what's the difference between the Joker and any other person. One bad day, a stub toe effect can make your day horrible and make everything else horrible. So I honestly, I don't think it matters who it is. If it's gender, regardless, everyone gets bullied in the same ways, same degrees to push people to the edge. There's people who write the notes to their family members because of that, because someone pushed them too far, because they knocked them down, called them weird, made fun of how they looked, picked them last in gym class, whatever the reason is. But it doesn't, to me, the gender does not matter. It's the person behind it and what happened to them. How did they get to that point where this was the last resort? And it doesn't challenge me only because I've already seen it in other things. So it didn't make me feel anything different. It just was a nice spin on it being a woman. But honestly, it didn't change how I felt because all it takes is just one thing to set someone off the edge. And the fact that she stopped makes her, I don't want to say better than others who already went through it and did do it, but she did stop. She didn't go all the way through, and no one ever looked at that like they always judged her because she was going to do it. But she was stopped. She could have easily kept doing it and then walked away, like the girl locking the disabled child in there. She walked away from the situation. She did the act. She locked him in there and then walked away. Who knows? That kid could have died, and that's why she's a hypocrite for what she did. At least Zendaya stopped herself. Doesn't matter how she stops herself. She still stopped herself from doing the act, and she built on making herself better. She was traumatized. She deaf in the ear because of that result. And because of that, she's taken it as, okay, I'm against gun violence. I don't like what they do. I don't like the place where it brought me to, into that dark place. I want to make my life better. And it's like, you can easily, like, we always talk about how we need to change people and people need to be changed. But yet when people do try to change, we immediately judge them because you did something in your past. I could have crashed the car at 10 years old, and that doesn't make me a horrible driver for doing that. And I've learned from bad mistakes. That's what the whole point of growing up and becoming the people who we are on our final days. Not who we were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, hell, even 5 days ago. As long as we learn from our mistakes and get better from that, I don't feel like we need to judge people as hardly as we did. And the fact that she wouldn't even give her the time of day to answer the phone and just hash it out. Yell at each other, have the fights. That's fine. You can have the fight, but not even giving Zendaya the chance to be like, look, I was a different person then. I'm not that same person. And if you're going to judge me on every angry act I have as me being a psychopath, well, then we're all psychopaths. She's a psychopath for being mad at her for that reason. Yes, she was close related to it, but still. not even giving her the chance to change and make herself the person you thought she was, and immediately thinking, you're that 15-year-old girl still, like Robert Pattinson was doing. He kept pitching her as that 15-year-old girl who brought the gun, instead of realizing she changed for the better. She's not the psychopath. Otherwise, she's in jail.
I mean, go off, Justin. Like that's why I'm confused why you don't like the movie, man.
Because me and
just-
Justin
it just
both agree
dragged.
that
I mean,
And like,
But-
I
but-
get the rough talks and not having the talks make it into a longer movie, but he just kept going back to the same thing. It's, okay, you were going to kill somebody. I can't look past that. Oh, wait, I can look past it because I love you. Oh, wait, now someone's talking into this, and now I see a book about girls holding guns. Changes my mind back to, I don't like, it kept going. And like the
Yeah,
ideas
I
that it did have of him throwing the cup away or them taking the photos together, it just felt like they could have built off of that, and then they just go right back to the same thing of, you were going to shoot somebody. I'm still uncomfortable about that.
but that's the point, right? It's the whole point of this movie is like you are about to go through one of the biggest performances of your life in getting married. What if you then find out something about that other person that completely changes your mind and you are not mentally able to deal with that? Like what the movie is Robert Pattinson's character going through the doom spiral of figuring that out. And Justin, like everything you said is correct about that movie. Everything. Like, I think that, the most interesting parts of the movie are questioning our empathy, where it stops, where it begins, questioning that morality, right? Calling out the hypocrisy of people. I would actually argue that Zendaya, especially with how she initially didn't want to fire the DJ for doing heroin on the street, arguably makes her the most empathetic character in this movie. But because she did was going to do one of the most evil acts that you can ever do as a person, like she's automatically ostracized by someone who arguably did something far worse. But because there's such a social stigma around that particular act, and because it's so hyper politicized and covered in the news to a great extent, it makes her far more of a martyr. And frankly, like I do think gender plays a role in here, because I would argue that if Zendaya's character was male, Alana Haim's character would have just left and called the cops. But instead, she just harbors this sort of like deep resentment towards the character that comes out at the wedding in just the most painfully awkward way. And maybe that's the problem. This movie is uncomfortable. I did not like personally watching the movie, right? Because it made me uncomfortable. But I think that being challenged like that makes for a more memorable experience. I can already see Ryan like cutting out that quote where it says, I did not like watching this movie, right? And saying that, that's my argument for not liking it. But
everything that you're arguing for and like saying about this film, I agree with you, to be honest. I just stand by my beliefs that this did not need to be a full feature film. Everything that it would have successfully done could have been accomplished in 10 to 20 minutes. And that's where I stand, that's where this should have been.
See, I disagree, because like, I think, I don't think you could really build up to that wedding scene, have that photography scene, go through all of those moments in a 10-minute movie. Like, yes, if you want to argue that it could be trimmed here and there, I'll hear you out on that. But like, to say that like this movie is so narratively bare where it doesn't even warrant an hour and a half feature, I don't think is correct. Like, I you know what's funny is like year end, I could see this being on your guys' worst and it being on my best. And maybe part of the criticism too is this movie a rewatchable experience? No. Like, this is one of those movies where you watch it, maybe you enjoyed it when you saw it, you don't want to watch it again because it's uncomfortable, right? We don't like to be uncomfortable. But going back to that very first thing I said, because I see so many movies a year, and so many of those movies follow that same old basic formula, and I just get so much of the usual, when I get the unusual, I tend to celebrate that a little bit more. That's why I like the works of Ari Aster. That's why I like my God, I'm blanking. Like Mike Flanagan, right? Like that's why I like horror as a genre.
Yeah.
Because it's able to push boundaries and make me uncomfortable as kind of like a fueling of the carnal human experience, right? Like we have all gone through these incredibly awkward experiences. And obviously it's played to a much higher level here and devolves into a tragic comedy of errors for the sake of entertainment. But there's something deeply human here. And that human element is far from the fact that these are perfect characters, right? This is not, Mario coming from humble beginnings and going through the perfect hero's journey to eventually defeat Bowser at the end. Like, and the ending maybe gets to that a little bit, where like, where do you go from here? And leaving it ambiguous, I think maybe is a mistake, but maybe also works. So, I don't want to ramble forever because I know you wanted this to be a short episode, but like I think you guys.
I'm gonna put a hard stop on the ramble because it's been a lot of Tyler rambling for this episode, trying to desperately say how good it is. But while I can agree that thematically, yes, this film works very well in what it's trying to do, I stand by my guts, I'm not even going to say it. I stand by that this film should have been a short film. And it would have probably been more effective.
I mean, I'm not going to change your mind. I mean, I mean, if this is a short film, nobody sees it. Because there just isn't a massive audience for short films.
Nobody's seeing this anyways. They're all seeing Super Mario.
Well, I mean, just because it has the unfortunate aspect of coming out on Super Mario weekend, yeah, that sucks. But I mean, generally, these kinds of weekends is where these movies tend to do well because there needs to be counter programming, right? It's why the movie Sisters with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler did so well, because it was the counter programming to Star Wars Episode 7 when it came out.
Justin, when should people see this movie?
I mean, watch any high school TV show. They usually cover that type of episode in one of them. One Tree Hill, Degrassi, even the stupid Secret Life of the Teenage Kid or whatever the hell.
You know why those work so effectively? Is because they're short and sweet, and they don't make you sit through a bunch of garbage that doesn't make sense and confuses you throughout the story. I say, if you really want to watch it, catch it streaming. You're not missing much from missing it. I mean, thematically, it's an important thing to tell. It's important to talk about. It's important to face. Tyler is correct. It is a movie made to make you uncomfortable. We need those. Those are very important. But ultimately, like, catch it streaming if you really care.
Catch it in theaters if you can get a good crowd. If you end up having to wait till streaming, I still recommend seeing it.
Do you have any closing thoughts, Tyler?
Yeah, challenge yourself.
Like and
as
subscribe.
A movie.
We'll see you guys next week. Justin, do you have anything to say?
Oh, I'm good.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.